Hey y'all, I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife from scrappywife.com, and today I have a traveler's notebook process video for you. I'm going to be documenting some pictures from my daughter's second grade play performance where she was the star macadamia nut, and I'm going to be using just some different things from my stash. I have some tissue paper that I'm hoping to use for some texture, some ephemera pieces from Maggie Holmes' carousel collection. I have a piece of vellum here from Felicity Jane, and then I believe these papers are from Amy Tangerine and possibly Maggie Holmes as well. So just some different things. Should be a pretty quick, easy page, and I'll put you on fast forward. We'll get going. As I get started on this page, you'll see me playing with different elements, moving them around the page, deciding between different papers that I had from my stash. Several of these papers are from Maggie Holmes, a couple are from Amy Tangerine, I believe, and I've decided to just completely embrace my love of busy pages. I like busy pages. I like when there's a lot of stuff on them. I love embellishments, I love words, and I love filling up the white space. And a lot of times I felt like I was doing it wrong because I see so many gorgeous layouts on Instagram and on YouTube where the creators are able to really utilize the white space and make a really big impact, and I think they're gorgeous, but it is just not my style. I use all the things. My layouts are just not ever going to be pristine layouts, and I think that that's okay. I think sometimes we might get too caught up on how things look and are they looking like other scrapbook layouts are looking, and I think maybe we should just focus more on what brings us joy. And to me, colorful elements, colorful papers that don't even necessarily coordinate with the pictures, the colors in the pictures, I think you can get a little bit too fussy on that stuff sometimes. It is fun to try and use those artistic elements and coordinate if you can, but other times just put things on the page that you love. You'll see me here fussy cutting out some of these cameras from, I believe this is a Maggie Holmes paper, and I'm going to use those as die cut elements. That is a great way to save money and get the most out of your papers, is when they have these very graphic elements, you can cut them out and use them over and over, and you get about 1 million die cuts. That vellum right there is from Felicity Jane from one of their black and white sales where they have really great deals. You should check out their website on that. And I love using this vellum as the background, and actually it's going to go ahead and provide me some lines to add journaling later. I'm just going to adhere it with some Tombow roller adhesive, just the permanent adhesive. I don't mind that it shows a little bit, and in the end I'm going to cover up those marks with other page elements so it doesn't really, the glue doesn't really show through. This whole page actually came together fairly quickly. I was pretty decisive placing my elements on, and once I figure out that I like something, I go ahead and adhere it on. That way I know what I'm working with for the rest of the layout. I want to try to balance the two sides, which ends up for me meaning to fill up both sides. So I like how the left side's going. I like the balance of the same paper on the lower left and the upper right to kind of create some cohesiveness between these two layouts, and I'm really into these torn edges right now. I think it's fun. I think it's easy to do when you're scrapping fast instead of measuring and cutting and being real precise. Just tearing the pages is a lot of fun to work with your papers. I decide I want to add a little bit more texture to these photos here that are at the lower right, and I use this tissue paper. In the end, I kind of wish I had a different color tissue paper, like a pink or maybe even a gray or a black, but this is what I had out, some old tissue paper from wrapping a present, and I'm using it to just add a layer behind these two photos of my daughter and her friends at their second grade performance, and it just adds a nice little element, something unexpected, which is always fun in a traveler's notebook. Since this page is commemorating my daughter's second grade performance, the tickets and the cameras were just perfect, because if you have ever been to an elementary school performance, you know the parents turn into their very own paparazzi. I took so many pictures and so many videos trying to capture those sweet moments and getting to share them with my family and friends that weren't in town. I just think it's hilarious. So I love that I have those cameras there to remind me of those moments. Title to be so sweet up in the upper right hand corner. In order to make that sweet work and go across the two pages, I trim it so that it doesn't fold, and I'm just going to use some glue adhesive so I don't get too messy with the tape runner to adhere that down on the right side, and then I will adhere the S down on the left side, and it kind of brings the two pages together since it goes over the divide, but it doesn't get messed up in the fold of the book. With all my main elements in place, I decide to add a few little embellishments. These are some Illustrated Faith hexes. They have a little bit of dimension to them, but not too much. I add those in a couple spots, and then I'm going to pull out a Felicity Jane stamp that I also picked up in one of their black and white sales, and I'm going to use it to add a few words here and there across the spread. It looks like before I get to the stamping, I do decide to add the title of the play, which was Nuts. All the second graders were talking about the cycle of life and how nuts turn into trees and things like that. My daughter was the macadamia nut, so I add the title over there on the left side. One thing I really enjoy about using these clear stamps is that you can play with the stamp placement before you actually stamp it down. So a lot of times I will lay the stamps on my layout. I'll put them in different places, move them around, and decide what I think looks best. And I can do that before I actually stamp it down, which sometimes when you can't decide exactly what you want to do, makes it easier. VersaFine Black Onyx ink to get a really clear image here. I'm pretty pleased with my stamping. It's actually improved a lot. You have to make sure you have a completely flat surface. This Traveler's Notebook is not super thick yet, so stamping on the right side isn't much of a problem. And you'll see me adding a few more stamps here and there. It's a little tricky here near the edge, so my head gets right over the top to make sure I don't overlap on that camera. And then I'll add the Delightful over right there in the middle of that right-hand page. I wanted to add a word over on the bottom of the left side where my daughter's feet are, but I realized if I stamped directly onto that layout, you wouldn't be able to see it. So I decided I'm going to stamp on vellum. And first I try this StazOn kind of turquoise ink to see what it looks like, but that turquoise ends up not being the right color for the spread. It just is a brand new color that's not in anything. So instead I just pull out my regular StazOn black ink. I'm using StazOn because when you stamp on vellum, it's kind of a slick surface, and StazOn ink is designed to stamp on that slick surface so it dries and doesn't smudge too badly on there. So I'm using the black ink, and then I will cut out that vellum. It lets that word pop up a little bit without being too bright over on the left. At this point, my layout is almost done, but I'm going to add a little journaling up on the top before I fill it up with other things about how my daughter just shines on stage. She loves being on stage, and I can just foresee a lot of theater productions in our future. Once the journaling is done, then I decide to pull out some of my Nuvo Crystal glitter drops. These are the glitter drops, and add just a few little glitter elements because glitter is my daughter's love language, and I just know she'll love that. And with that, this page is done. It's a fun, bright page for my fun, bright girl. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, keep it creative.